California lawmakers are moving forward with a plan to provide tax relief for taxpayers facing higher bills under the newly passed Republican rules. Now, the law caps the deduction for state local property taxes at $10,000. But a bill introduced this week would allow Californians to classify their state income taxes as charitable donations to a new fund called California Excellence. And theoretically, it would allow taxpayers to then deduct that entire amount from their federal taxes. Now, experts believe that if this measure is approved, Congress would likely then move to close the loophole. And just to note, the bill would not affect property taxes. Those are paid to county governments.
But this has taken a big toll, or could take a big toll, in California, especially here in the Bay Area, where our salaries are higher, but also the cost of living is higher, and the feds don't get that. Joining us now to talk about this plan is State Senator Jerry Hill. In a nutshell, what would it do?
Well, basically, it's very simple. Right now, if you make a charitable contribution, a donation to a charity, you get a tax write-off for that. All this would do is mean that in California, when you make a contribution to the state government through the California Excellence Fund, that would be a dollar for dollar write-off from and a deduction from your federal income. It's not something new. The IRS has already allowed this. It's being done in 17 states right now. California is one of them. We had a scholarship fund that we could do that with. It was not a dollar for dollar. But it's very simple. In those states, the interesting part, why Congress will not look at this and change it, I don't believe, is because you have the states of Alabama, Arizona, and Florida who are doing it right now for education funding for federal government. So they're going to have to do it for everyone, and those are pretty red states.
All right, but there is a key difference here, or at least there has been until now, and that is tax versus charity.
Yes.
The word charity implies voluntary. I'm doing this out of the goodness. I'm contributing to UC or to my community college or to something like that because this is, here's your tax bill. You have an option. You can either pay it through this quote-unquote charity, or if you don't, through the goodness of your heart, decide to, here's your tax bill and you're going to have to pay it anyway.
But if you make the contribution during the year that you've earned the money, the tax obligation isn't due until the next year, until April. So you're making the contribution to the fund during that year, then the tax obligation is due, and there'll be a credit applied for the amount of money that you gave to the foundation.
Oh, so you're saying you'll have a year to grow in your heart to charity, to give to the state.
And out of the goodness of your heart, you will do that.
And if the goodness of your heart comes a bit short, the tax,
then it's a tax.
Then it's a tax, and you would be taxed for the difference.
Absolutely.
This sounds like we would be the birth of a whole new bureaucracy. We're going to have the Department of Charitable Giving.
Well, we all know we should give to the charity of our choice, and state government, what better charity?
Or do we already have a system set up where we could do
There is a system already in place, and that's what we had, and there's already a precedent for that in California. So the mechanism is there. This is just adding another dimension to it.
Okay, now this, it sounds interesting. You probably have the votes, I would imagine, in the legislature.
It's a majority vote bill because we're not adding a tax or increasing a tax. It's just a simple majority.
All right, what keeps the feds from turning around? Because these are regulations. We have laws and regulations, and the charity giving is a regulation, and the Trump administration could say, no, we're not going to check that box. You can't do that anymore.
Well, if they did it, they'd have to do it for all of the 17 states that are doing it right now.
So you have red state cover.
Red states cover. Arizona, Alabama, Florida, and others. So that's going to be a tough one for them to make that move.
Okay, let's say that you do it, and you get it signed. And do you see this as a permanent solution, or is California going to still need to take another look at how it taxes? Because one of the reasons we're in this problem is because we are so reliant on personal income taxes to fund the state. And there's been other calls for sales taxes or even sales taxes on services, for example. What are some of the other options out there?
That is a major option, and that's something we need to consider. I was hoping the governor would do that in his last year or two in office, because he's someone who could do that, because the opposition to sales tax on services is extraordinary. You've got realtors, you've got accountants and attorneys. No one wants to have that fee, that tax.
So that option doesn't...
That'd be a tough one to do, and that's going to take multiple years. This would go into effect this year because as a tax law, it goes into effect immediately.
So this would be an immediate Band-Aid. You can put this on. So now, politically, that would help Democrats and everybody, because then you wouldn't have a whole bunch of irate taxpayers out there saying, I'm having to pay you, and now I'm having to pay the feds as well.
Most are irate anyway. It doesn't matter. But you're right. It will make a big difference because the people I represent, we're probably the largest in the state. There are about 150,000, 40% of the households actually pay the SALT tax, and it's over 35, 40,000 is the average in the district that I represent. So it's a lot of money. It's $18,000 per household average throughout the state.
Yeah, and a lot of that is right here in the Bay Area. It's not so much in the Bakersfield and the Reading area. Okay, we need to change a little bit because there was some other news that broke this week, and we only have a minute left. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says the hands-off policy regarding marijuana recreational is a thing of the past. They're tossing out the Cole memo. They could be coming in. The head of immigration is saying that sanctuary state could be a target as well, and officials could be a target. Your comments on both those?
Well, what they say is one thing. What they can do and what they will do is something else. And I don't believe they have the resources, nor will they put the priority into that in the near future. The marijuana, especially, how are they going to have federal cops on the street trying to pick up people or go after that? I don't think so. Now, they may be able to use the RICO statute and go after the property that's owned by where a dispensary is located and try to make those threats. So I think right now it's a lot of bluster. We'll see if it turns into reality.
Okay, but back to this other one, charity, the art of and the feeling of giving.
And I know you do have that. Absolutely, Phil.
It's growing every minute. It's growing every minute as these federal deductions go away. That was a pretty clever move. Did you come up with that?
No, well, I had it a little earlier, but Kevin DeLeon, it's his bill. I'm the principal co-author. It's a good idea. I like it.
Well, there you go. Redefine charity. I want it now. Charity begins at home, and so does our weather.